All right, how you doing? Today we're going to take a look at a classic standard called Blue Bossa. I'm sure that many of you may already be familiar with this to some degree. It's a nice, easy starter jazz classic, and it's 16 measures long. Specifically, what we're going to look at are the 8 elements that I feel are necessary when you are developing an understanding of a standard to the point where you can comp and you can play solo over the changes. So let's go back to the tune, and as you can see, the first one of the elements that I've got here is learn the melody. And so we'll just do it in one position right now, but it's a good idea to do it in more than one position. So this is to make you familiar with the melody. Okay, and so that melody tells us a few different things. So let's analyze what the melody tells us. It tells us that we're in the key of C minor, and if I take the melody notes, it's very clearly spelling out a C natural minor scale, which would put us in 3 flats. The relative major to 3 flats is E flat, same notes, that's why we call it relative. Okay, so we're in 3 flats, we're in the key of C minor, and we're moving to a 4 chord of F minor, and then we have the minor 2 chord, and what tips us off there is that flat 5, minor 7 flat 5, or can also be called a half diminished. And then we move to a G7, C minor 7. All right. When we take a closer look at the chords, and I'll play them in a form now. How about here? C minor, F minor, D minor 7 flat 5. So far, all of these chords that I just played come directly out of the scale of C minor. That means that the chords that I've played thus far, the 1, the 4, and the 2, are all diatonic to the key of C natural minor, right? All the chords come out of that scale. And the reason I stopped at G7 is because now we have a G7, and this note right here, the 3rd, does not belong in a natural minor scale, right? So when you're in a soloing situation, you want to define the chord of, in this case, the chord of G7. And in order to do that, you're going to have to play that B note that's in the G7, which wants to lead to the C minor, right? So you'll have to do an alteration of the scale at that point. All right, let's move on. Then something happens here. You can see that we have all of a sudden an accidental, and that accidental is a D flat, and we have another accidental of a G flat. And the reason for that is we've modulated to the key of D flat. So this is a 2 chord in D flat, this is a 5 chord in D flat, and this is the D flat, the 1 chord, D flat major. And that's pretty clearly indicated in the melody as well. So here's 2, and then the 5, and then the 1. the scale corresponding D flat, scale, right? And then we return to the 2 chord of C minor, to that G7 chord, which gives us the B, which is leading to the C minor, right? And then a quick turnaround, D minor 7 flat 5, G7. All right. It appears that my digital fretboard is reading correctly. That's why I'm playing these chords slowly, so that you can see the voicings that I'm using. All right, so let's go back to our elements for a second. Do an analysis of the chord progression. Well, I think we just sort of did that, right? And then I have vamp through the common chord voicings. So I'll just vamp through the chord voicings as if you're playing for another soloist or another instrumentalist. 4 chord, 2, 5. Key change. And turn around. And so on, right? So the idea is that when you're learning a tune, what you're trying to do is bring yourself into a real world playing situation. It won't always just be you playing some kind of spectacular solo guitar part. The one of the skills that you will need to be able to do is read a chord chart and then internalize what is happening on that chord chart. So yes, comp through the chords, but then also memorize the chords. So far what we've got is you can play the melody in a couple or 3 different places on the fretboard. You can do an analysis of what is happening in the tune. This goes for any tune. This goes for any jazz standard, right? Not just a simpler 16 measure form like this. So here we have as I said, the 1 chord, 4 chord, 2 chord, 5 chord, back to the 1 chord, and then 2, 5, 1 in D flat, and then we're back to where we started, basically. And that all happens within the 16 measure length, the context. Okay, so let's see what my next element is. Develop some alternate voicings and simple substitutions. So maybe you don't want to just play some people call them grips, these common chord voicings all the time. Maybe you want to try some alternate voicings. So I'll give you a few ideas. C minor, and here's a nice quick F minor, right? And then here's a nice quick D minor 7 flat 5, which we've already played. And here's a very simple change to a G7, which we've already done. And then no, we haven't done that, have we? Here, C, D minor 7 flat 5, and then we just flip fingers 2 and 1 around, and now we've got that third, and then we return to the C minor. Then we could do E minor like this, and then A flat, and you could maybe add and D minor 7, right? And so play with that. Here's a 2/5 D minor 7, G7, right up here. So play with that. Do some chordal inventions. Listen to the top note that you're hearing all the time, right? The top note is the most pronounced of the notes in a chord. Right? Be aware of the top note. Okay, and so play with it. Play with the harmony that you're working on. Okay, and incorporate it into your comping. Here, I just forgot another sort of a nice idea. Here is the G7 with a flat 9, which is enharmonic to a diminished 7th chord, right? A nice change there. You can change that G7 to a G7 flat, G13 with a flat 9. Really nice bite to that chord. There's just tons of stuff that you can do. G7 with a flat 9 on the bottom, and the story goes on. It's a wonderful way to discover chord voicings that will work for you and that you like the sounds of when you're doing it in the context of a standard, right? Okay, so 8 elements. Now I develop a harmonic map. We've talked about the substitutions. What is a harmonic map? A harmonic map is what we're mapping where the chords are going and what key you're in. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 measures, and we're in C minor, right? There's no disputing that. We're in C minor with that little anomalous B note that we have in the G7. Right, and if you want to grab that, you just take your C minor scale and add that B natural to it. Okay, so back to the harmonic map. So harmonic map would be 8 measures of C minor, 4 measures of D flat, and 4 measures of C minor. And that's the way you would remember this tune, right? Not just with the chord progression, but where are these chords derived from? So all these chords are derived from the scale of C minor, with the exception of that raised 7, which is more like a harmonic minor or a melodic minor, right? A jazz melodic minor. And more on that in another video. And then 251 in D flat major. So work on the elements that you're going to use. D flat. And then and just work on that in one position. Just sit right there and play the daylights out of that position, and naturally you can move, right? And then when you can take the D flat up here. And then back to the C minor. So there's tons that happens in a standard like this, where you work your way across the entire fretboard. you really get to know the tune. You adopt the tune. You understand the tune. You understand where the chords are derived from. You can name the chord progression, 2, 5, 2, or in this case, a 1, 4, 2, 5, 1, right? You know what's going on with that tune. You've got it cased. Okay, so here, solo through a simple invention once the tonal centers and keys are established. I sort of did that just now, right? You can easily find a play along track for this and put this stuff to work, right? Okay, here it says, and then define the bass movement in the tune. This is super simple. This is like grade 1 bass playing, right? So here's your bass line. F. C. We're in D flat now. Two, 5. You get the idea, right? You don't have to do anything fancy. You just stick to the roots of the chords. Why do you want to do that? Because so you can hear the root movement. You can hear the bass movement. You can internalize where the bass lines are going. Again, super important. And spread it around the fretboard. Define bass movement number 8. Voice lead some simple lines and listen for the chord changes, and try to define the chords and while being aware of the root movement. That's a mouthful, but I'll show you what I mean. So what we get is a C note for the C minor chord, a C note for the F minor chord, a C note for the D minor 7 flat 5 chord. But when we change to the G, it has to become a B, and then returns back to that C. Now let's go to the E flat for the modulation, and that same E flat is on the A flat, at the 5th of the A flat 7 chord. And then we'll just move up to the F sharp, F natural for the D flat, major 7, right? And then we can keep that finger there for the D minor 7 flat 5 chord, as you can see, the 3rd, and then that becomes the 7th of the G7 chord, and then we return to the E flat. So that's thinking in voice leading. Now we can take the same thing and move to any voice in the chord. If we want to start on the 3rd of C minor, and then actually we could stay because it's the 7th of the F, which we could do a short version like this. And then move to the F for both the D minor 7 and the C minor, right? You can go through each note in the chord like that. And that's, if you combine that with hearing the root notes, you're going to start getting a really good idea of where things are going. Chords are not just big clumps of a bunch of notes. They are, each note in a chord is considered to be a voice, and that voice wants to go somewhere, right? I mean, in the case of the this E flat, we could keep it on, for the F, or we could move it up. But the point here is that you're hearing the chords individual notes as voices that all have their own directions, right? They're going to go to the next chord in various ways, but this exercise is to keep those voices as close as possible, right? Now, I know this isn't ripping through scales and, at 100 miles an hour, and, maybe there's a place for that. I'm not sure yet. But I know that there's a place for honoring the melody. I know there's a place for honoring the chord progression, because the more you do so, the more will be revealed to you. And the things that are revealed to you will be musical things, and they will be they will open doors. I can absolutely guarantee it. So that's it. I think that's my 8 elements of study for any standard, and I'm going to go through several standards and go through this same process. And if you're serious, I hope you have a guitar in your lap, and I hope you're learning something, because that's sort of why I'm here. Good. That's it for today. I really hope that was a help to you. So go through those elements. Think about those elements when you're practicing any standard, any piece of music. And you're not allowed to skip the melody. Okay, that's it. If you don't know the melody, you don't know the tune. I don't know what you're doing. I've seen so much stuff on YouTube where they just start with a chord progression. A chord progression supports the melody, right? So it's sort of divorcing the essentials from a tune. From a standard. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by, and leave a comment, please. Let me know, like this, what I'm doing here is somebody's listening to it. Maybe nobody's listening. I don't know, unless you leave me a comment. Okay, thanks a lot. See you soon. Bye.